I'm Chris Narbonese, one of the directors of Ferro Eleganza, and we really do structural steel fabrication and also the erection of that structural steel on site. So Wisium was also one of our buildings that was purchased by Wisium in Pretoria West. They purchased the building from EPOL, but they wanted the building in Brits. So really very much the same as our previous project that we discussed for Mafube. This entire building had to be dismantled and moved to Brits and re-erected there. The client wanted to modify the building. So the building is really a feed mill building. It consists of hot rolled steel beams and columns. It's about 15 or 20 meters high. And inside it has a feed mill that produces the feed that they use for the animals. So the client would modify the building a little bit, making it higher and then extending it for his own purposes. But mainly we didn't reuse the sheeting on this building. So we stripped the old sheeting off because it was a very old building from EPOL in Pretoria West. We took the old sheeting off. Then we dismantled the steel, starting obviously in the opposite sequence that you erected it, from the very top of the tower coming down. Also, after we dismantled it, we steam cleaned the whole structure. Then it was moved with trucks to Brits, where half of the material, especially the bottom columns, were taken back to our factory and modified to receive the extension of the columns for the client's new building, and then taken back to site, and then the whole building as it was also re-erected. So similarly for this situation, we had to go and mark all that steel fast-drop floors, the beams, the cladding rails, everything had to be pre-marked before we dismantled it, so that we knew how to reassemble it in Wisium. Then the client put on new sheeting, which we also did. We did the sheeting. We added new cladding to the building and put in the floors. We added additional floors that he needed in the different areas, and then repainted the whole structure. It was a painted structure, so we cleaned some of the old places, patch primed it, and repainted his whole structure inside before we cladded it. The challenges were in dismantling this building, being such an old one. The bolts are obviously very much rusted, old paint, so to try and strip these old bolts out was a challenge. But and at the same time, dismantling it safely. You'll be surprised how much tension is in these old buildings, and as you start dismantling it. So the safety of dismantling that building was a big challenge. And then really the workshop drawings, taking the old drawings of EPOL and extending it on Tekla the way the client wanted his new building to look in Wisium Brits. So those were some of our challenges, but with the use of everything that we have, Tekla structures and these things, it was not too difficult to overcome them. It worked out very well. These mill buildings are quite complex to erect them. The fabrication is not so difficult because it's a lot of small beam sections that's made up with end plates. But the erection of it on site is a process, because you really have to start this tower from the beginning, make sure the beams fit in the different places, make sure your bracing is in as you go up. Working within Wisium's existing plant between the other buildings with craneage and so on. So the health and safety is obviously a concern that we always have to have in mind. But yeah, I think and the cladding of the building. We use cherry pickers because it's a tall tower building that has to be cladded all the way up. But yeah, it's all our challenges that we normally face, but we were able to do them. Being the second one we did in that same year, if we see the way the South African economy is going, here's a client in Brits. He needs a mill building. There's a redundant one standing in Pretoria West. So he buys that building for a very good price and just pays a contractor to dismantle it and re-erect it on his plant where he needs it. So from that viewpoint, you couldn't do that with any other building material than with steel. And really showing that in a country where we're struggling financially, there's innovative ways to think and really accomplish what you need for a far lower cost. I think the fact that we could really deliver what the client wanted The client's very happy. They are really overjoyed with their new plant. It looks beautiful with a new cladding outside. It looks like a brand new flagship a mill building that they have. And they boast this building, but actually it's a very old building that we help them to move. And really being part of that, giving the client that recognition or that what he has, and the vision that he had to go and buy an old building and move it, to be part of that whole process, we're quite proud to have been part of the team.